Well, joining me now to talk about the pre-election atmosphere, I'm now joined by ruling party Zanu-PF South Africa spokesperson Kennedy Mandaza. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, Mr. Mandaza. You must be concerned when you see people being injured like this, and he claims this happened in police custody.
Thank you, Peter, and good evening to your viewers. Anyone in the ruling party, that is Zanu-PF, is concerned when a member of the citizenry is affected. And like you have rightfully said, we are concerned that we continue to see people, particularly during this time of the election period, being used as pawns in political games. As Zanu-PF, we have been very categorical. Even the president has been very categorical, without any ambiguity, that we do not condone violence by anyone in government or even not in government. Therefore, when we see people going through what we are seeing at the moment, particularly when we notice that this is only happening at a time when we feel that even those that are campaigning should be doing so freely, we get really disappointed. But more importantly, what disappoints us are the theatrics that are done by the opposition supporters, and particularly the leadership, who seem to play on innocent people's lives and put them in the line so that they can advance a narrative that Zimbabwe is undemocratic, that Zimbabwe does not provide a free campaign system. Yet the government is very clear. We need people to campaign freely. Zanu-PF condemns time and again violence, and we have said we have no business in violence. Our business is to make sure that we better the lives of the people of Zimbabwe. We provide policies that are meant to make sure that the citizenry have all its hopes and aspirations met, and that is what we are doing. And we feel very sorry for those that are being used by those who want to advance a narrative that Zimbabwe is undemocratic, that the campaign period is not free and fair, yet we are providing everything possible to make sure that people can traverse the length and breadth of Zimbabwe to campaign and put up their policies. Not only the theatrics that we have been seeing in the last few weeks, when people seem to be garnering for votes from people that are innocent and would want their lives bettered.
All right, Mr. Mandaza, what is not theatrics, though, is that the CCC have had their rallies banned. And in fact, the most recent one is where the party was told that they couldn't hold their rally because Zanu-PF was having rallies, 2 rallies in the same area on the same weekend. Isn't that the authorities, the police, showing favoritism by saying, Zanu-PF, go ahead, CCC, you can't campaign, you can't have a rally because Zanu-PF is having one?
From what we have heard from the police who are responsible for giving permission to political parties to hold their rallies is that they can't have 2 political parties, 2 different political parties having rallies in one particular area, because that at times has fomented violence amongst the supporters. So in order to make sure that they can manage the crowds, they have tried by all means to make sure that these rallies are held in separate venues. And as we speak right now, you are aware that MDC had its campaign rally in Sakuva Stadium today, when Zanu-PF was having its own in Binga. And because of the distance that exists there was no reason for the police to say we do not have any manpower. But where distances do not allow the police to manage the crowds and to make sure that they provided the security that they do, they have put in structures and measures to make sure that we do not have violence. But we have also asked as a party, why is it that the CC seem to be trolling wherever the president is going? The president, if he's going to Marondera, they would want to be in Marondera. When he's going into, he's in Harare, they would want to be in Harare. Yet we have 10 provinces and we have so many constituencies where these elections are supposed to be taking place. Why can't they use their rationale to make sure that they go elsewhere where ZANU-PF is not there? Likewise, we are not going where the CCC is or any other political party. And when we talk again about banning, we have not seen any political rally being banned.
But they have been.
Look at the Marondera one, where the police said we cannot have a car rally because of the state of the grounds where they wanted to have it. And they were denied that permission. But if they had gone there to have a political rally without the car rally that they wanted,
Mr. Mandaza,
honestly, the police would have allowed
Mandaza, let's be honest here. We have restrictions that are being put on the CCC that the ZANU-PF don't have to abide by. There was one rally where the CCC were told you are not allowed to transport people by buses. And yet a rally for ZANU-PF, there were buses coming from all over the place. That is quite blatant.
Peter, let us be realistic like you have asked me to be. We can't say that CCC is not being allowed to bus people when we have seen lorries carrying people to CCC.
They had to use lorries because they weren't allowed to use buses.
They bused the people from Mozambique to come and attend their rally in Sakuva. So why should we say that they are not being allowed?
All right. Mr. Mandaza, who is beating the CCC supporters?
To be honest with you, Peter, it is not ZANU-PF who are perpetrating the violence that we've seen.
Who's doing it?
By any imagination, if you look at what happened in Kwekwe, how on earth can a ZANU-PF supporter be found in the midst of that particular rally? There are divisions that are in CCC. These are the divisions that are fomenting the kind of violence that we have seen in their rallies. ZANU-PF has nothing to do with that.
Mandaza,
we cannot answer for what is alleged to have taken place in police custody. That is still under investigation, and we let the police do so. What we do not allow and we are condemning is violence of any form by anyone at any given time. The president has been very consistent. Let us have peace, unity, and love in the country.
But Mr.
and
Mandaza,
conduct our business in a manner that promotes development.
Okay, two things. The first one, Vice President Chiwenga says we will crush Chamisa like lice. What kind of language is that for a vice president of a country? Surely that would incite some zealous party supporters to commit violence.
Well, we seem to be dwelling on this particular statement, yet it is the same vice president that Nelson Chamisa has quoted and applauded for having said that we want peaceful campaigns. And people are not quoting this statement.
But why did he say that? But why did he say that?
We have a whole parliament in the United Kingdom. But
why did he say that?
Dwelling on the same statement that you are also asking.
Why did he say it? He's a vice president. Why did he say it?
I cannot answer. It could have been political banter at that particular time. He went on to urge people
but it's
to
dangerous.
have
you agree.
peaceful campaigns.
But you agree
Pardon?
It's dangerous to say things like that.
I didn't say I agree. I said it could have been political banter.
But it is dangerous, though.
That's what you are saying.
Okay. Then the issue of ZANU-PF people being caught in the midst of a CCC rally. The 16 suspects that were arrested, there's an internal police memo that said that 4 of them were ZANU-PF card-carrying members, and caps of Emerson Mnangagwa were found in their car.
If 4 of the people were ZANU-PF members, what it means is 12 of them were CCC members.
We don't know
by
that.
inference.
No, we don't know that.
Why should... What we know, what we have heard, we have not heard the political Triple C, as we speak right now, has no membership register.
What we know for sure is that 4 of them were ZANU-PF card-carrying members. What were they doing there, involved in violence?
At one point or another, Peter, all of us, many of the Zimbabweans have been members of ZANU-PF. And it is not a crime for anyone to have been a member of ZANU-PF at one time or another. And these people could have been members and could have joined the Triple C. But we can't for a fact say that these people went to perpetrate the violence that we are had to have, that they committed. And still, this particular case is still under investigation. The majority of these people that we are talking about have been released by the police, and I think, if my memory serves me right, 5 or so are still in custody.
All right, so...
but like I've said, Peter,
yes,
ZANU-PF has nothing, no business in violence.
All
Our business is to improve the lives of the people of Zimbabwe.
Is the state involved in violence against citizens?
What state would be involved in violating the rights of its own people?
The police.
The government of ZANU-PF.
The police.
The police.
Yes.
Yes, investigations are still going on.
But there are always investigations.
That kind of violence that we have seen,
Mr. Mandaza,
that will be proven.
Mr. Mandaza, since the beginning of time,
sure,
there are always investigations, but one never hears of a policeman who's actually been jailed for violence against citizens. Have you ever heard of it?
I can't answer for the judiciary. That is their responsibility. What I can answer for a fact is that ZANU-PF has no business in violence, and its government does not also do the same.
What do you say to people who say that the state, the police, and ZANU-PF are one and the same thing?
ZANU-PF is the current ruling party. And it is the one that is in charge of all the functionaries that are in the country at the moment. And it is very difficult for those that are in the opposition to separate ZANU-PF from all the functionaries that are currently in the country.
Why isn't the president condemning the violence that's taking place? He talks about not having violence, but he doesn't condemn specific acts, because probably that's what's required, where a Triple C supporter is injured by the police, he should say, this is wrong. What happened today was wrong. Why doesn't he do that?
Peter, the president, Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, I've already said that he has been very consistent and unambiguous in terms of calling for non-violence in the country, asking political parties and the citizenry to conduct their business peacefully, in unity and in love. And he has done this time and again, to the extent that he has, in some of his rallies, said that we do not want to see some of the things that are happening. What he has not done is to call for a press conference to speak about these things. Yet, we are saying he has condemned violence time and again, including when he's holding his rallies.
All right, and we've run out of time, but finally, if we're seeing this kind of violence ahead of by-elections, you must be worried about the national and general elections in the future. How do you create an atmosphere ahead of time so that people feel safe and that we don't see this kind of violence repeating itself when the stakes are even bigger?
What we have been doing, what the president has been doing, is to call upon its citizenry to make sure that they conduct their business peacefully. And we would therefore appeal to those in the opposition to make sure that they do the same. Because what we have seen are cases where people in the opposition, they're stoking violence, they're inciting people, they are beginning to talk about protecting a vote that has not even taken place. They are the ones that are talking about issues that incite people to go into violence. And we say, let us speak the same language of unity, peace, and love, And this is what we would want to see all political leaders and saying all the time, not fomenting or inciting violence, nor using people as ponies, putting them ahead so that they can create narratives that that suits a particular group of people. Like in this case, there is already a sustained narrative in the opposition that elections are not going to be free and fair. For as long as they do so, we will not have free and fair elections in Zimbabwe because of the opposition, not necessarily from the ruling party. So we are calling upon members of the opposition to conduct themselves in a manner that promotes unity, peace, and love in the country.
Mr. Mandaza, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so, so much indeed. And we certainly wish you and the citizens of Zimbabwe a peaceful process as these elections approach, and let the people's vote count. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you and welcome.